guys, welcome back to another author interview with Jazz and Prose. I am your host, Sai, and today we're here with the lovely Francine Houston, here to talk about her latest book, The Search for a Cure. So Miss Francine, how are you doing today?
I am doing well. Thank you.
Good. And where are you located?
I actually live in Lansing, Michigan. But
Michigan.
I'm in
Okay.
Michigan.
Okay, nice. Okay. So you've written many books. So we have here Strength of a Woman, and this is your poetry book, right? Okay. Then we also have Lupus Journey, which is your memoir.
Yes.
Right. Okay, but today you're here to talk about your upcoming book, which is The Search for a Cure. Right? Right. Okay, well, let's go ahead, excuse me, and start off just telling us a little bit about yourself and you as an author.
Okay. Well, my first poem I wrote, I was in college. I was like 19 years old. And my sister joined a poetry club, but she's way better at poetry than I am. But I just joined it just to be like, okay, I joined poetry club. And they just kept on trying to like challenge me, like write a poem that come from your heart and stuff. And that's when I wrote Funny How Things Change. I started writing about what I deal with lupus. I started writing about, you know, just challenges I had as a teenager growing up, giving my life to the Lord, stuff like that. That the poem started helping me it basically started telling a story. And eventually I put all the poems in the book and created Lupus Journey. So basically my background is as a poet, because I really wasn't like writing books. I just wrote a whole lot of poetry in the beginning.
Okay, nice. And then it eventually led you to write more so like nonfiction and things like that to share your journey.
Yeah.
Okay. And I saw when I looked on, your reviews and stuff and what your books was about. So part of you said it heals part of me that I never expressed out loud. I thought that was very poetic. I was like, oh my God, this is, yeah. So talk about that. So when you say, go here, it heals part of me that I never expressed out loud. I think even if it's not poetry, I think just in writing in general, it can be very cathartic and just releasing, like you said, things that we might not verbally say out loud, writing it. So for you, talk about that a little bit for us. When you're writing, how do you feel like it helps to heal parts of you that you may not like say, out loud?
It's healing, but I mean, writing became like healing to me. Like I started using it as a therapy more than at first. It's more than me going to a therapist. Like I go to therapy now, but it was at a point where I would just get a pad of paper and I would just express how I felt. Like sometimes with most writers, or I know most creative people, sometimes they don't express how they feel. They write. I start writing what I feel. I stopped telling other people. Like if I get to the point where I'm extremely silent, which lately I have been like that. I get to the point where I get a pad of paper and I just start writing how I feel, and that helps me to heal. Because I may not express how I feel to somebody else, but if I like write it down, that helps me to like get all of that frustration or emotions out, so I can start the healing process.
Yeah, and I think that's very helpful. I'm actually a reading teacher, so I deal with 8th grade kids all the time, and I have them write just a lot just to reflect because, especially nowadays, excuse me, I feel like kids some of them will share their emotions, but some of them won't, especially in 8th grade. So I do a lot of reflective writing for the kids to kind of just, talk about how they're feeling. So with The Search for a Cure, tell us about this book. What is this book about?
This book, well, at first everybody was like, you need a part 3, because I did Lupus Journey 2. And I wasn't trying to have a part 3. I wasn't trying to continue on telling my memoirs or whatever. But I ended up having low platelets sometime in November. It was like around the time one of my friends passed. And I did a blood test, and they said my platelets was low, and I didn't think nothing about it. I was like, okay, well, they're not gonna, usually they don't tell me nothing I can do about it, but they preferred me to this place. It was inside Camano's Cancer Institute, but it's a blood specialist there that I go see. And I kept on asking. I said, "Why y'all keep on giving me all these tests and y'all not giving me medicine for it?" And he was like, "Well, this is a cancer place." I say, "Either we can give you chemo or we can put you back on steroids. You got to pick what you want." I'm like, "You asking me to pick my own poison?" I was like, "I don't." I had chemo one time for my kidney, and I was like, "I don't ever want to touch that ever in life again." So I was just like, I said, "Well." I was thinking, well, I might have to just suffer and take the prednisone, which that's what happened. The kidney, it wasn't the platelets, it was the fact my platelets was low, and then all of a sudden the next month my kidneys went low, like they kept on going like a yo-yo. And my kidney doctor got scared because the last time my kidneys dropped, they dropped to 10% functioning, and I had to be on dialysis. So he was just cautioning me. He was like, "Okay, I'll make you take 90 milligrams of steroids for 90 days." And I was just trying to keep this to myself. Like I just wrote a journal and I told the people that my writing association what was happening. I said, "You should make this a story." And I'm like, "I want to make this a story." I was like, "Okay, I'll make it a story." So I started just writing it it's basically journal entries. Like this time I did it similar to Lupus Journey 2, because Lupus Journey 1 was more like poetry and just literally telling a story. But this one was basically just journal entries for almost like I think from the end of 2002 to sometime in 2004. I had to figure out a way to end it, but it was basically telling the reader the ups and downs of me taking 90 milligrams of steroids for 90 days, and like the ups and downs of that. And by the end of it, just basically telling you the process through it all. Because by the time I went to the doctor, I thought I was at end stage renal disease, and they said, "Well, no, your kidney's at a different stage now. You're not at end stage renal disease. Your kidney function went up," which I was happy about. And then just basically, I actually take you throughout my life. I show you the things I do at work. Somehow, even though I was sick, I was able to go to California with my job like 2 years ago. Just the stuff like that, the stuff I think I even put in there. I don't know if people would care, but I think I talk about all the times the government was about to shut down. And since I work for the government, even though I make the clothes for the military, we was trying to figure out ways or try to talk to the Congress not to shut the government down. So just like I would say like a window into like my life for 2 years, and the stuff that I went through during that period of time, pretty much. I don't want to
Okay.
tell the whole thing.
Yeah, of course not. We got to save some now. So, and I think that's really great, because I always say in these interviews that writing, we have to control the narrative. And I'm curious, like, so when you were how old were you when you were diagnosed?
I was 18 when I was diagnosed with lupus.
Okay. And so, um, when I've been sick and I haven't had any major illnesses, but when I have, because I'm a reader and I'm a writer, I always look for books to help me, just kind of get an understanding. And, this quote here, I'll lead with this. So I believe this is from your other book, the poetry book, but I feel like it still can cross over to this one. So one of your reviewers said, "I love this book, very inspiring to all walks of life. This book will inspire you to still fight and keep pressing." And I feel like through your story, I'm sorry, I'm getting over a cold. Through your story, you can, help a person not to feel alone. You know what I'm saying? If they share some type of, situation where they feel like it's new, they're scared, by you documenting, you are kind of humanizing it and showing that you're not alone. There's other people that are going through this as well. And this is what my life was like. And for you, it was a 2-year span, you said your book
Yeah,
covers.
for the search for the cure. Yeah, I just put in a 2-year span of what I went through. Yeah, the other ones was a lot longer. The other two memoirs was a lot longer. But I was just like, I told myself I was gonna start December. I started December 22nd, no, the 31st, talking about it. And then I was trying to figure out a way to end it because I got off the medication like August of 2023, but stuff kept on happening because I ended up meeting what's that called? Uh a naturopathic doctor. So I had like just talking about what happened with that and stuff like that. So um, it kind of got longer than I expected because one of my cousins was like, "Well, you need to go to this doctor. She can help you." And I went there, and I found out I had some more stuff going on than I thought. So yeah, but I don't want to explain everything on that one because she helped
Yeah.
me like, get rid of all of that because now everybody's talked about like cleaning out your system now. So ever
Yeah.
since I said it, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And and there are, I used to be vegan before I would say I have 5 kids. So I would say after my first three, I
mm-hmm,
went vegan. I was going through a divorce and I was just like, oh, I need to, And so I was vegan and I started reading a lot of holistic, natural kind of books.
mm-hmm,
And I learned a lot of stuff that, this is when Dr. Sabi was first coming out
mm-hmm.
and all of, that kind of stuff. So I do know that there's a lot of alternative kind of things. So do you talk about exploring those kind of things too, like
Yeah,
alternative?
because that lady was an alternative doctor and she found parasites in my gut because I kept on saying something got to be wrong with my gut. And
Yes.
she did some type of test on me and found parasites, and I had to do like a detox for like months. And I saw them actually come out, and I was like, ah! And then
Really?
I'm like, I'm telling everybody, and they was like, oh my god, you gotta tell me what you did. I need to get cleaned out too. And I'm like, next thing I know, everybody I talked to, they tell me about pills you could take for detoxing.
Yeah.
Type
Well,
of, stuff, smoothies or whatever.
I actually, and this is when I had TikTok before the ban. I never re-downloaded the app. I did the what was it? The papaya, I think it was papaya seeds, and
Mm-hmm.
I did it. I didn't really see anything, but I have had like colon what is it called? I guess colon cleanses where they I don't know the proper term for it, but I had that where they clear everything out. And I do think those kind of things help
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think people really pay attention to food. Like, a lot of time when it's just sitting in your gut for so long and how that can affect the body. So for me this summer, I am all about, I have to lose this weight because I know I've, gained so much, but I've done a lot of research over the years just about,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, alternative things and just health and good and, just really paying attention to food. So, really quickly, for the people who don't know what lupus is, how would you describe that? Like, what is lupus?
Lupus is an autoimmune disease that can affect any organ of your body. It's basically like your body is attacking itself. That's the best way I can explain it because I
Yeah,
remember when I first got diagnosed, I said, "What is this?" And can I take a pill and get rid of it? Because you used to just going to the doctor, you take
yeah,
a pill and you better. And now it's like this don't work this way. And I'm like, it don't work this way. I'm like, I can't just get rid of it. And I was like, no, you just can't get rid of it.
yeah. So you kind of have to adjust your life to live with it. Is that pretty much what
Pretty much.
right
I mean,
now? And but that's why you have to search for a cure. Is
yeah,
that what the title? Okay.
yeah, yeah, because I kind of got, I mean, I've been dealing with it since I was 18, and I get in bouts where, either it get too bad, because like in one of my books, I got at 29, I had bad seizures, and it
Okay.
was so bad that I couldn't drive. So basically, my family just took my keys, and I was like, "Well, if I need to go somewhere, like you can walk, or we can
Yeah.
just do it." I'm like, "Oh my god!" So
Yeah.
it's just stuff like that. And then, they gave me enough medicine for me to
Mhm.
stop having a seizure so I could drive again. And then in my 30s, I had the kidney failure. So I was on dialysis for like 5 months. So I was just, after a while, you just get to the point of like, okay, what is the cure for this? What can I do? I'm like, in this book, I'm talking to different doctors. I'm paying them money. They was like, well, no, we ain't doing that for free. You got to pay us to talk to us for an hour. I'm like getting in credit card debt because I need to know answers. And they gave me a lot of answers, but I was like, I can't, you know, it's this doctor all the way in California I talked to, and they was willing to help me, but I think I had to pay them at least $2,000 to get better, to
Oh
get
wow.
better. And I was like, I don't have $2,000. This is, and then they was giving me so much information, even told me the root causes of autoimmune diseases. And I was like, oh my God. So I had
Hmm.
poked them on that, but just the fact that I was doing all this searching. I mean, it ain't like I don't rely on the Lord. I do. I pray a lot. I'm a Christian, whatever. But at the same time, I wanted to know a physical cure for this. So that's what drove me to write this and drove me to keep on talking to everybody. The different doctors.
Excuse me. Process. Okay. So when you were, because these are journal entries,
Mm-hmm.
did you just keep like a notebook during this time, or did you, because some people, one lady said she even on her phone she would just like type up the stuff
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of upload it to a Word document. So what was your process like for putting this book together?
This one, I think I was on my phone. I think when I first started with about the 90 days for steroids for 90 days, I was just so sad. I found my sister gave me like a little journal book, and I started writing in there. And I was like, well, if I'm gonna make this an actual book, I started typing it into Google Docs. And then after a while, I start using my notes to write down little journal entries here and there because I'm always around doing stuff. So I was like, well, let me write down what happened here. Let me write down what happened there. And eventually I started putting them all together. And I even put dates inside the books. I made it like a literal journal, but I was like, I can't keep on writing like this. So I'm not trying to change my writing style, but I'm gonna try to do something different. Hopefully the next time I write a book. But this one was better for me, this format, because I mean, it was just like natural. It was just like, okay, this what happened today. This is what I did, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. So,
Yeah. And I think I like reading books like that. Even for fiction books, I like when it's written like a journal entry. I think it makes me get more into, what I'm reading. Um, so for this, do you feel like you learned a lesson, a publishing lesson? Like just now, I think you kind of said next time you feel like you're going to do something. So what is one thing you felt like through the process with this book or any of the books before that
mhm.
when you write your next book, not to do that again?
um, I think for the first book, it took me too long to write it. So I
Okay.
was trying to learn, like, I was getting bits and pieces of it. So I said, this next time, I wrote Lupus Journey 2 as I was going through the process of the dialysis and stuff. And then as far as Strength of a Woman, I just gathered up all my poems that I wrote and I just put them in as many as I could and put them in one book. But for the S on my chest, I did a lot of research. I just didn't feel like I had enough information to talk about the Superwoman complex and the Superman complex, the Superwoman syndrome and stuff. So I did like I think at least 2 years of just reading books and stuff like that to make sure I was thorough enough to like explain what I know about these two things. And because I really felt like I was a superwoman. I had those issues. I'm still trying to take my cape off sometimes. So
Yeah, yeah. And I think balance is important. I think nowadays a lot of people are starting to because we can see everything with social media, I feel like people are starting to understand that there are different ways to deal with things. I know in the African American community, I do feel like, women, Black women, we carry a lot of weight, and sometimes it is hard to take that cape off and say, you know what, I'm going to put this down and balance and do self-care. So I'm really big, I tell all my friends, self-care. And self-care is not just go and get your nails done, go and do this. It's just maybe you don't do anything for the
yeah,
day, you just relax, and you don't have to feel guilty about that. You deserve to take a break. So I love that can acknowledge, like you said, you feel like you're superwoman, you are still struggling sometime to take off that cake. But yeah, self-care, I feel like that's, we can't pour from an empty cup. I say that all the time. We have to prioritize ourself, because without us, I mean, what's we all we got. Like I said,
Yeah, I'm starting to realize that. I had to have that, I guess, epiphany or whatever that, like,
Yeah.
light
Uh-huh.
bulb.
Yeah.
The aha moment. That's what it's the aha moment.
So for aspiring authors, for someone who, wants to put out a book, they might feel like they have a story to tell that they could help, through their writing someone else. What advice would you give to that person?
I would just tell them just to write, because I got to the point even now where I was like, no, let me wait until I get like some type of inspiration to write. But sometimes you can just be like, just write down your thoughts. Eventually, whatever you're starting to write, it can come together. Or like, even if that whatever they're trying to write, I always try to do research or whatever, or try to read other books to see how they are doing things. But if it's their original work, or if it's their memoir or whatever, it's something that they already know, they should just go ahead and just start. That's the best thing to do.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then I write books, and I'm a teacher, and I really just love learning. And I was listening to this YouTube video. It had like 8.7 million views on it. And the professor was I think it was like effective writing or something like that. And I think a lot of the times we forget that, like, there's drafts. So like how you said, like, start writing, then you can go back and maybe reorganize it and put it, in a way that you like, that it flows. But if you don't start, then we can't get anywhere. So yeah, people usually say, like, yeah, that's the first thing, just get started. And you never know, like, from that idea of just brainstorming, you never know what could be, triggering your brain to remember other memories that you may have not even remembered. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe we are at trivia time. Okay. Yeah. So I love trivia time. So this is Would You Rather Author Edition. Okay. So we're gonna start with having you pick a number from 1 to 4.
2.
2. People rarely pick that. I don't even know what 2 is. Let's see. 1,
Oh,
2.
no.
Let's see. So it says, would you rather see your book turn into a Netflix series or quoted in a TED Talk? I feel like this one.
God. Oh, wow. It would be nice to be quoted in the TED Talk, though. Dang, I like both of them, though. But to be quoted in the TED Talk, that seems like you like famous. Like, I mean, but you famous doing a Netflix series. But they'd be like, who is Francine Houston? And why we need to hear her story? But if a man or a woman come up there and talk about a TED Talk, and they'd be like, oh, we got to research who was this person. So I think the quote in the TED Talk.
Really? I did not think you were going to pick that. I'm using my background knowledge because I would love to do a Netflix series.
Oh, it would be nice to be a Netflix series.
But a TED Talk is that, but you saying that lets me know that, TED Talk is really up there. And I do watch TED Talks as well. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a win-win, honestly,
It's
situation.
a win-win. Yeah.
It's a win-win. So yeah, that was a good one. So, excuse me. Future plan. So I know, excuse me, the search for a cure is not released yet, right?
No, I'm trying to get it done before June or by June now, because it's supposed to have been like formatted and everything done now. But I was in school. I mean, I went to school for software engineering, and we just got done like 2 weeks ago. So I was like, because I was starting to work on it, and then next thing you know, I had a group project, and they started working on it because we did a translator app, and I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna do this and format the book. So I was
congratulations.
Thank you.
So big, software engineering. That's amazing. I love that. Yeah. I know. Yeah. I'm in grad school as well. So I understand the balancing with the actual job and school and writing. So I totally get it. But when do you think it's going to be released?
I'm trying to do it by June because I was asked to speak somewhere, and
Okay.
I want to have the book with me. Usually I just go places and tell my story, so I want to have it in my hand now. And she just
I
came out of nowhere and she said, "Do you want to tell your testimony?" And I was like, "What?" I was
yeah.
like, "Sure."
Yeah, that's a good motivation though to have it done by. I actually have something in October and a book that I've been working on for, I hate to say, but like 10 years. Um, I'm hoping to have it done. It's a fiction book. It's a fiction mystery and the plot is a lot, but I'm hoping to have it done by October, and I'm using that like you date where I'm going to be at a book festival to kind of want to, like you said, have it in my hand. So I'm hoping. Excuse me. So for people who want to find you, do you have like social media handles? Where can they find you?
um, Facebook, just Francine Houston. Instagram is Francine.L.Houston. I have a Twitter at Houston Francine. I do have a TikTok. It's just under, I think it's under Scene, or you can just look up Francine Houston, but I rarely be on there. I'm going to have to try to be
Yeah.
back on TikTok soon.
Yeah, I heard it's really good for authors. I heard like people who do story times and stuff, but well, you're definitely welcome back anytime. Guys, make sure you go and follow Miss Francine Houston. Be on the lookout for the search for a cure. We thank you for stopping by today. And guys, we will see you in the next author interview with Jasmine Rose. Welcome to